The objective of the organization, We the World, is to facilitate cooperation on a global scale amongst groups and individuals dedicated to implementing solutions to the many challenges we face on the planet at this time.
Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit 2023. My name is Jana Larson, and I am coordinator of the Economic Justice Campaign for We the World, and as well as filling many other roles for We the World. Today, I'm excited that we'll be joined by Jack Strasburg, Steve Farrell, and Larry Clay, who will be talking about economic justice. For the full 11 days summit schedule, you can register for free by going to we.net. Then you can participate in the after panel public discussions and see replays of the recordings. There, you can also make a contribution to support We the World by going to we.net. Now let's bring in my co-host, Rick Ulvik. Rick Ulvik is the founder of We the World at we.net and the co-creator of 11 Days of Global Unity. Welcome to the broadcast, Rick Ulvik.
Thank you, Jana, and thank you all so much for joining us for this important discussion of economic justice at our 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Jack Strasburg. Jack Strasburg is a We Team member and coordinator working with We the World's Economic Justice Campaign. Jack has been concerned with economic justice issues and has been working to help create an economy that works for all since I met him. Welcome to the broadcast, Jack Strasburg. And Jack.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jack, could you please give some context for this economic justice discussion, and then please introduce Steve Farrell and Larry Clay, who will be joining us on this panel.
All right, I can do that. I think where it comes from is I really agree when Steve Farrell says that business is the most powerful force on the planet for affecting human behavior. And so it has the potential to also affect human behavior in a way that brings about a world that works for all. It has that potential. But if we want to use it for that, then we really want that business to be conscious. And so it is so important to have conscious business if business is that powerful of a force. And that's it for that part. So should I just go on and introduce Steve and Larry?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, Jack.
Okay, well, I'll introduce Larry first. And I want to make sure that the people who are watching, the audience, knows that we have really put up very brief thumbnail sketches of what Larry and Steve are up to. So there's a lot more there, but we want to save that time for explanations on conscious business. So Larry is well, he's got a PhD and an EMBA, which I assume is a Master's of Business Administration from Marymount University, and is an assistant professor of business and management at Marymount University. He is also a program administrator for Conscious Business Enterprise. That's enterprise, not enterprise. And he is Dean of Humanities Conscious Business Masters Program. And he's got his fingers in a million different pies. So I'm not going to go into all of them, I am just going to say that they generally focus around his ability to design sustainable systems. And he is involved in a very wide range of them. Okay, and now Steve. Oh, well, you can say hello first, Larry, if you want, or wave your hand.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for that introduction. I really appreciate it.
All right. And Steve, well, Steve Farrell is co-coordinator and worldwide director of Humanities Team. Or co-founder, not co-director, co-founder and worldwide director of Humanities Team, an organization that is focused on helping people throughout the world awaken to their deeper self and the interconnectedness of everything in the universe. Steve left a lucrative career in Silicon Valley, where he co-founded and led 2 high-growth technology companies, demonstrating that he knew a little bit about business. And he did that so he could spend more of his time serving humanity and the planet we live on. Now, I just want to pause for a moment here and for our audience to think about how many people they know who would leave a multi-million-dollar career so that he could spend more of his time serving humanity and the planet we live on. And what we're going to do now is we're going to ask Larry just what brought you to that conclusion and where you're at today.
Yeah, thank you for the generous introduction, Jack. I appreciate it. And I think the question was to you, Larry. Yeah.
No,
Oh.
no, I'm going with you, Steve. I kind of want you to let it, while we're on that train of thought that you left Silicon Valley, I would like you to, let us know how that happened and that you decided to do that.
Yeah, so I decided to do that because I had my own personal awakening, and I'm guessing everybody here, viewers, we all had that moment, right? That personal awakening moment where we were like, oh my gosh, I'm so much more than the son or daughter of my parents. That moment for me was in the middle 1990s, when I was in the middle of that whole scaling hyperbolic growth curve there, because my businesses were supporting the internet. So there was a lot of business there and a lot of growth. But what happens in this personal awakening happened for me was, and I'm guessing for all viewers, is we realized that there's something, ultimate reality is not what we thought it was, that there's this wholeness, this oneness, this super organism, that's actually even more than the earth. It's the whole universe and multiverse. And with all of what that means. And so as I really came to understand that, I realized I needed to live into that. And it was a kid's game, just starting businesses and growing businesses. I was just playing a kid's game. And I knew at the end of my life, I would be very unhappy if I was going to continue to do that. So I did sell everything. I left these business associations, moved my family to Boulder, and 20 years ago with Neil Donald Walsh launched Humanities Team.
All right, so Larry, what brought you to this spot as one of your many resting places? Well, you don't rest, but.
Yeah, I have a little vampire in me, good vampire. But my story is a little different. I was also in corporate, working in sales and marketing for the pharmaceutical industry for over a decade. And I've also worked in healthcare for almost 20 years. That was the first area that I tried my entrepreneurial ventures. I started to launch a few companies having to do with drug movement, moving pharmaceutical prescriptions and making it accessible for elderly people and people that were on fixed incomes. And I grew it up to selling durable goods. But the one thing that I would say, I had a wake-up call as well. And my wake-up call happened when I was in the pharmaceutical industry at its height. And I was a part of the the major layoff that happened in 2008. And at that time, I not only lost my job, but I, of course, lost my home, car, my wife
Wow.
left. Um, I basically fell all the way down to the bottom, as low as it can get. And most people probably would have just thought about perishing. And I would say for a few hours I did as well. But I took and I started listening to myself and trying to figure out this main question here. Because, and this will bring us to the crux of equity, social equity, and economic equity and justice. I had the feeling that I never had the opportunity to myself to really figure out what I wanted to be, what my purpose was. Although I went to college, got a degree, got a master's, MBA, there was something that was in me that was missing. And so I took a what we call an introspective process of trying to learn myself and try to figure out what is my purpose. And I
Mm.
went through a couple of series of books, and of course, the Bible was one of them, the Quran, and a couple of inspiring books. And what I came to was just to follow what we may consider God, the universe. I've read books to refer it to the super mind, the superpower, and I followed that notion. And what that brought me to was where I am. Part of me was already being built, and I just needed a little bit more skills and competency. So I went ahead and got a PhD from Case Western Reserve University, and now I'm a professor, which I'm living in my dream that I've always wanted to be, but never knew it existed.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to come right back at you, Larry. I'm thinking, could you describe briefly what conscious business is about, what it is?
Sure. Conscious business is what we consider a new paradigm that's needed in our economic system today. We're all familiar with, and you've probably heard of all the problems and all the conflicts that have happened and all the discourse in understanding our capital system, especially for those that are on the inequitable side, as far as opportunity and real upward mobility. And as you think about how our capital system has somewhat destructed our social fabric in our societies,
Yeah.
it still has its benefits. It still has work to do because it isn't a perfect system, but we have the opportunity, because we are the humans that operate these businesses and organizations, we have the opportunity to somewhat follow a path such as I did and really take that first step of what conscious business is and determine what is that company's higher purpose. That's the first element. Then, once you understand what the company's higher purpose, you have to have conscious leadership. And simply conscious leadership is really just a new way of thinking, a shift of the mindset from the old paradigms of what business is, just profit maximization only, shareholder value only, and just
Yeah.
expanding your conscious just a little bit more to think about caring for people, caring about your employees, caring about the customers, and the impact that your product or service has on society, whether it's more harmful or whether it's doing good for us. And so the last two elements, very critical of a conscious business, is you need to always be in a position of trying to cultivate a conscious culture within your organization.
Mm.
And what does that mean? That means simply just having the ability and people having the access and autonomy to practice interconnectedness, whether that's through prayer, whether it's through just clearing the mind and meditation, yoga, going out and actually experiencing nature in a walk and just viewing whatever you see and just listening to the natural sounds and being a part of the natural state in its existence. That's the true value of being a human and being a part in oneness. This is the time that you take to make this process happen. And the more that you take these practices, and this has been studied extensively, we found that leaders that lead from inside outward, that have their own sense of consciousness, that have this amplified emotional intelligence, tend to be better leaders, tend to be better people, tend to make better decisions, not only for themselves, but for the company. And this type of mindset is what we want to bring not only to conscious leadership, but this is going to be the catalyst to help move and shift this mindset. And this is the best opportunity now because we are at the Great Reset. This is the opportunity for us to transform because the environment in the universe is transforming already. We just need to play our parts and transform along with it.
All right. Well, that was done very well, Larry. Thank you. So Steve, why is putting together conscious businesses and doing the class that you do, why is conscious business so important? And I don't know what is the urgency, is a separate question or part of that question, but we want to address both.
Yeah, so Larry brings in, he shares the Great Reset, and we could, which it is, there's a Great Reset. There's also the shift of the ages, you could call this, this big pivot to this whole new way of living on the earth. So almost everybody, 8 billion people on the planet would agree we could do better, that change is needed, that as we look to our kids and future generations, there's a great deal of concern that if we just keep doing business the old way, that could create trouble, in terms of fouling our planet and not really caring for the well-being of all of the Earth ecosystems and all of the 8 billion people here. So, a couple of things, just to emphasize a couple of things that Larry's bringing in here. This conscious business approach we've taken is not incremental. So we're not. There are some incremental approaches out there that are more like people, planet, profit. We are bringing in, you could call it presence, higher purpose is what Larry is sharing here. So, and presence is this whole oneness thing. Science is now affirming, what Albert Einstein shared so many years ago, 102 years ago, 1921, he said, the greatest illusion in the world is the illusion of separation. And then he had that long quote we've all heard before. There's this optical delusion, that has created a prison for us because we only are attending to those closest to us, right? So conscious business is we're clearing that optical delusion. Oh my God, we're seeing the science that is coming in so many ways, actually, from so many different directions, quantum physics in particular, that sharing everything really is deeply interconnected. In fact, you could call it a universal consciousness or universal presence that's animating all of life. Most of us have heard that concept before, but science is saying this is true. So in a sense, it is a super organism. And then, Jack, you're bringing in that the most powerful institution on the planet today is business, right? So business is pulling the train, right? It's pulling our whole human civilization along. Well, to the extent that that's true, my goodness, boy, business better be pulling the train in the right direction, right? Because we're at this moment of reset, of the great resignation, where people are leaving jobs because the deeper meaning isn't there. The great shift of the ages, the pivot to a new way of working, living and working on the earth. And so conscious business, where we bring in this oneness, if you will, or wholeness, or we-ness, we as in we the world and not me the world. And then where we bring in the interior perspective, which is Larry brings this in, that where we're communing, with the one source, right? God, the divine, cosmos, universe, love, life, use the term that we want, where we're really coming into a frequency with nature, and this beautiful universe, living into a new dream. So where we do this, we can then create this whole new way of conducting business, this whole new direction for business, where the lead car on the train is pulling us toward a sustainable and flourishing planet. So it's incredibly important, incredibly urgent. Doesn't mean we need to run around, the sky is falling. That's not being conscious. Conscious is where we're in this frequency of nature, of love, of we-ness, right? So, which is what you all do as well. It's why we're so grateful to be on your program here today. And I think, Jack, you're muted, at least on my end here.
Yeah, I was. I muted because I was coughing. But anyway, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Larry?
Sure. Just one thing, just for a sense of time. I absolutely agree with Steve on the fact that this institution of business has been the one thing over the last probably half a millennia that has improved the human condition in the developed, and it's still in the developing world. And it does have its problems, but it's still, and this is why I'm passionate about my area of design and innovation, others know it as entrepreneurship, is that entrepreneurship and business model and value creation is at the center of capitalism and of economic development. Without it, it's almost like the seed that plants the food and for our nourishment. So if we don't have the seeds and have the seeds consistently being planted in the ground so that we can start the flourishing process for all, this is going to be the critical area that will probably deconstruct the whole system. Why? Because if there are no emergence of new things and new ways of doing business that are emerging, the old system will stay the same. So it's very critical for us to put a mindset while we have this opportunity to share with people and to somewhat give them another option to understand what business is and what business could be, and that we don't have to follow the same train that's probably leading to the rails of destruction. We can shift it and be a part of the shift and learn about how to be more conscious and how that details and how that can be a benefit to us moving our organizations forward. And it's a benefit to helping us think a whole lot clearer when we make our decisions. These type of things are going to help us and assist us in the emergence of the new conscious way of doing business. And our goal here at Conscious Business Enterprise and at Humanities Team is to influence that, is to teach people and to be the evangelist, to go around and spread the word.
All right. Well, very well done. Thank you. And now, well, I'm thinking of going to Steve because there's he's a kind of a salesman, all right? You seem to be pretty good at it. So maybe I didn't want to paint you as a salesman, but you do have a good pitch. Anyway, I want you to just mention the Conscious Business Masterclass to make sure people are aware that they can still sign up for that.
Yeah, so as you mentioned in your introduction there, Jack, Larry is the Dean of the Conscious Business Change Agent Program, and a cohort is starting through on September 18th, so just in a few days out. So there's a program you could watch that's free. Humanities Team, you go to humanitiesteam.org, that's with a Y. You'll see this free program called Putting Business at the Forefront of Change. Okay, it's a 30-minute program, doesn't take too long, and it'll give you a sense of this amazing 9-month Conscious Business Change Agent program, and a program that follows also with a dissertation. Then you can actually get an accredited master's degree following the 9-month Conscious Business Change Agent program. So invite you to go through the Putting Business at the Forefront of Change. And then if you like what you see, you'll on the Humanities Team website, you'll see online advanced studies and it says conscious business change agent. And it also has that accredited master's degree. And you can go there and see this just extraordinary 9-month conscious business change agent program that is there, and that Dr. Larry Clay and others in Humanities team have been working on for a while. It's kind of, the program's been in the vault for years, and we're pulling it out of the vault after really putting some good new stuff into it, including twice a month programs that are live by Larry and his team.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And again, that website is Humanities Team, and it's like humanity with a Y, and then you put an S at the end of that, and then it's team, TEAM.org. And I'm going to try and show it on the screen here when we get a chance. All right, so I guess it's all we have time for. So thank you very much, guys, for doing this. It's great.
Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate the invitation.
Sure.
Yeah, really appreciate being here with you, Rick and Jack and Jenna.
Oh, yeah. And, Steve, something that you said, Steve, I really would love to hear a little bit more about it. And then we're going to have a call to action. But something that you mentioned about that conscious businesses and the people who run them, it's not an incremental process. It's and I think that's very interesting. So it's not. I think what you're saying is, it's like turning on a switch in terms of your relationship to what you're doing and the world and all of that, as opposed to an incremental change, I think. But tell me if that's what you're talking about, because I found that to be very interesting.
Rick, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not incremental. We're not trying to maybe go a few steps out and say it's safe. We're saying, we're talking about something transformative, which is very safe. Actually, it's safe for us. It's safe for our homes and the whole planet. And it's what, if we're going to go all the way to flourishing, not just sustainable, but all the way to flourishing. Now, flourishing, we're talking about transformative. We're talking about really living into a whole new self, where this whole notion of, we're a cell in this super organism, right, called Earth. And actually it's larger than that. It's the universe. And this was, again, what my awakening moment was. And it's what I'm guessing all of our awakening moments were. It's transformative. We see that we're, you could even use the spiritual term, our God self, not in a aggrandizing way, but more in a humble way of, which because this is universal consciousness is animating all of life. So my intuition, creativity, a lot of it, guess where it's coming from? I'm honoring that one, universe, cosmos, God, the divine that is expressing through me. So, yeah, I mean, and the beautiful thing is, and I think Larry brought this in some of his points, is you can actually have an incredibly prosperous business when it's transformative. That's the thing, is people think, oh my gosh, we're going to go be in a cave and this business is going to crash. It's just the opposite. People love these transformative businesses where it's really about and caring and stewarding this planet that we live on.
Mm-hmm. Sounds wonderful. And so one question I have about that is, it has to do with culture and cultural shifts. So for me, the idea of creating a shift towards a society that's based on we consciousness, that considers the common good, and of course how the business interacts with all that is essential. So the question is that in expansion, that's why I was thinking, is it an incremental force, like this expansion of the cultural shift? Maybe one person at a time becomes, they flip that switch that you're talking about. Maybe that's what's happening. What do you think?
Yeah. So one way of talking about it is, like, the highest level of consciousness is supra conscious. So, and in supra consciousness, we're in that bigger self where we're really operating as the cell in the body of life. The 8 billion people are a part of us. The planet is a part of us. Animal and plant life is a part of us. This term God self can kind of bring this in. When we live that way and align that way with this higher purpose, where it's not about just what vacations am I going to plan, which we can plan, nice vacations for ourselves, but where our primary focus is really this world around us, stewarding this world around us, loving us, supporting it, nurturing it, where it's that. What in my understanding, what happens is that the universe or God, whatever term we want to use, they turn that faucet on big for you, which is why humanities team has grown into over 20 years into what we are. Same thing happened to me in Silicon Valley with private organizations where, it was like, we weren't trying to get rich. That's not why we started these businesses. But then boom, you've got, if you're after something pure and you're really trying to build something beautiful for the community and the world around you, wow, look what happens. That faucet gets turned on, which is to say that wind at your back, the universe is working through you. People come into your life, resources come into your life. This boomerang effect happens. So there's goodness, where we have vision, what is said, there's provision, right? So once we're given the vision of what we are to do, don't worry, the universe is going to bring on that provision to support you, just like with We the World, and helping you all become who you become out in the world.
That's wonderful. So can we have a call to action? What are you calling for, and how would each of you like people to take action? And I don't know, Jack, do you want to start maybe, and we'll kind of go around.
Well, I'll keep it short, but I think that incremental thing is very important. We don't have time to do things incrementally. It just doesn't seem that they're going to give us that kind of time. And my thing, if we really want a world that works for all, and we want it in any kind of decent time frame, the movement for a world that works for all has really got to get a lot more focused on getting a lot more organized, coordinated, and collaborative. And I've been an activist for over 40 years, and I see it happening, kinda, but it's happening way too slow, I think, to get to the point where we can stand up to the forces that are creating the situation that's going on right now. And so we got to do it.
Yep. Larry, do you want to say what is your call to action?
Sure. Now, just like more than ever, again, with the Great Reset, with the data still showing across the globe that 72% of people at work are disconnected, dissatisfied, or even disconnected to the organizations that they work for. There is this discord that has occurred, which is what we call a signaling and a wake-up call. Now that pretty much a good proportion of people have experienced, especially in our westernized world, in the US, have experienced this discord in the way that we do things as a whole. Because remember, we're thinking about us as a whole, the we. We have this opportunity to be exposed to something new. And I'm calling anyone that has ever felt the discord at work, if you ever felt stuck in your routines or that you didn't have that anywhere to go, stop. Give your chance a chance to listen to yourself. And then maybe take a trip down and check out humanitiesteam.org and visit us and take a chance to look and just see some of the good things that we're talking about. And I know it may sound floral, but because we are organistic beings, there's nothing wrong with understanding these terms that we probably haven't used in business in a long, long time, like flourishing. Wouldn't it be a great world if everyone in the organization was in a state of flourishing. This can happen, and it'll take a transformation. And as Steve said, not an incremental, but a synapsis of a radical transformation that starts within self. And from that spark, you will hopefully be motivated to wanting to learn more and wanting to do better and learn how to be more upward mobile and follow your dreams.
Sounds good. And Steve, what's your call to action?
Well, Humanities Team, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. And of course, we have a streaming platform and work therefore with all of the transformational leaders all over the world, including near-death experience leaders and mediumship leaders. There is no such thing as death. We don't use the term death in my home. You know, it's this death of body, sure, but that's not what's important. Is for us human beings. It's the notion that the fact, the truth, the ultimate reality that we have everlasting life. And that's just one piece of the puzzle. When we talk about a spiritual universe, a vibrational universe, there are many other dimensions to it. To the extent that this is true, let's live fully into our, I'll use the term God self. And if you're more from science, then call yourself universe self or cosmos self or we self. But let's live fully into that. This is what makes life delicious. This is what I didn't find the American dream in Silicon Valley in that 8-figure world, private jet world, private ski area world. I did not find it. I found it in just humble little places, walking in nature. All of us, can live into it every moment of the day. And we still have challenges, but life is delicious when we live into it. And then when we participate in this great pivot that's happening right now in the world, I just invite you, live fully into it, stretch fully into it. And if you're in the area of business, invite you to check out our free business program and the Conscious Business Change Agent 9-month program. There is nothing like it. When we talk about going full into it, not incremental, there is nothing like the Conscious Business Change Agent program out there. That's why we created it as a nonprofit.
Sounds fabulous. Jana, what's your call to action?
Well, I barely know where to start. I could sit and talk with these people all day long and learn a lot, I'm sure. But as a woman who grew up affluent lifestyle in Boulder, Colorado with my dad, and then moved to another affluent community in Ohio. And then because a victim of domestic violence, and divorce, I now find myself in the lowest rung of poverty. And the reason I say that is because I had to become conscious and mindful and resourceful and see it all as an opportunity. And my opportunity that I saw years ago when I saw Rick Olfick doing 11 days of global summit, telesummit, I thought, that's who I'm going to join with. And so the idea is, the call to action is to join in with people like Rick, Larry, Steve, Jack, join in and get involved and change your world. So that's what I say.
Thank you, Jana.
Okay, and Rick,
Yeah, and
if you get a chance,
Jack.
I just want to make a quick screen share to show a couple of.
Yeah, you know how to do it now? Yeah.
I think we succeeded the last time. So
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
I can do it, huh?
Right,
So Rick, are you
just
gonna share?
click
What's
on
your
the,
inspiration here, call to action at the end.
yeah, click on the share screen button and then click, there you go. There, now you got
Okay,
it.
so there we have Humanities Team website up here.
Yeah.
And then we also have the Conscious Business Declaration. I wish I also had your business or your class on here too, but I don't. I don't know why, because I really wanted people to get that.
You can find it there, that humanitiesteam.org. If you go to masterclass, the programs at the top and pull it down, you'll see master classes, and you'll see the Conscious Business Change Agent program there.
Okay, good way.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jack. And thank you, Steve. I guess you can turn off that share now. Yeah, perfect. So thank you all. I think this has been a truly inspiring discussion. Thank you for being part of the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. And Jana?
Yes, and thank you, Rick. Thank you, Jack, Larry, and Steve. And thank you all for joining this and watching this and for being a part of the 11 Days of Global Unity. Go to we.net to get involved. Don't forget to stick around for the public discussion right after this panel.
Thanks, Jana. And it's all about we, right? So let's go from a me society to a we society. That's why we launched we.net. So together we can create a world that works for all. Much love to you all, and thank you.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having me.
Thank you all.
Thanks also.
Yeah, thank you. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.